I've been thrown into a prison cell. My own pack turning against me. All because of a single act that haunts my dreams. Chapter 18. Don't forget to check out my new start of a trilogy Bloodlist. Sorry I took a while. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬. I stepped into Shayne's office and closed the door behind me. Jace was sitting on the chair across from Shayne's usual spot. I felt weird taking his seat with Alpha Jace in front of me. Nature called. I tried to explain. Jace smiled and waved it off. After Jace stopped me to talk, I offered we talk in Shayne's office since it was more private. He agreed to stay here while I relieved my poor bladder. I also took more time than necessary because I was having a mental breakdown. Why would an alpha want to talk to me? I understand. I nodded. So, what did you want to talk to me about? I mean, shouldn't you talk about things with Shayne? I'm more than happy to help you with whatever it is. I just need to ask you a question. He stopped my rambling. What kind of question? I didn't see why Jace had to ask me anything. I didn't know him. If he needed anything, then he should ask Shayne, not me. I actually need a favor. What kind of favor? I found my mate, he said before breaking out into a huge grin. You found your mate? I said slowly. I'm sorry, but what does this have to do with anything? I talked to Shayne about this and he didn't give me the advice I was looking for. It's understandable. We were alpha males. Most alphas were known for being possessive, powerful and ruthless. No alpha wanted to be known as the weak link. It made an easy target for others if they weren't as strong as others. But since you're the Luna, I thought maybe you'd be a better help. Plus, I'm sure my mate will take a liking to you, he said smiling. It will be easier for her to talk to a she-wolf. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. So what do you need help with? I thought it was kind of cute that an alpha was asking me for help. Jace looked really shy and a bit uncomfortable. I could tell he was struggling to open up about this, but just seeing his face light up when he talked about his mate, it was priceless. I was hoping to bring her over to that dinner you were planning. My mate is human and she's human, I asked with shock. Yeah. She doesn't know about werewolves. Why not? She's your mate and she has the right to know. I haven't told her. The way I found her wasn't exactly. Let's just say it wasn't that great. She was going to marry someone before I found her. And he got attacked. They were camping in the woods. She was a bit traumatized and doesn't understand what happened. We all told her it was a bear attack. I think that if I were to tell her the truth, then it might scare her off. It's been months and she's still at her delicate stage. I felt bad for Jace. He had his mate close, yet she was far away. At any moment she could slip away from him. If she found out unintentionally, then who knows what could happen. There was a reason why humans didn't know about werewolves. I would suggest you just tell her the truth. But that's my opinion. She has the right to know. If you would like, you can bring her here. We can have dinner. I'll talk subtly to her. And you can show her you're a wolf, I suggested. You need to tell her before she finds out some other way. I don't want to scare her off. I'm not saying it will be easy. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. But we will all be here for you. You can bring her a couple of times just so she can see how things are here. Maybe you're right. All relationships are hard. My relationship with Shayne isn't perfect, but we're working on it together. We're here for you. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And if you ever need anything, I hope you don't hesitate to call. Shayne found himself a keeper, Jace said, smiling. I was anything but that. I didn't deserve Shayne. Thinking of him, I felt him trying to get into my mind. He hadn't tried to before, but sure it was him. I felt it. We should get back before anyone notices you're gone. Right, I said, getting up. Keep me updated on what will happen. You can bring her by next weekend for dinner, or being her during the week so I can chat with her. I'll help you out. Thank you. Jace surprised me by taking me in his arms and hugging me. I awkwardly hugged him back and giggled. For a big bad alpha, he sure wasn't as mean as he looked. It also made me feel silly that I was getting so worked up before I knew what he actually wanted to talk about. At that moment the door flew open and we heard a loud growl. I recognized that vicious growl. Jace let go of me and stepped away from me. I looked at Shayne and he looked ready to commit murder. What the hell is going on here? Shayne growled. I rolled my eyes and walked to Shayne. He looked down at me accusingly, but I ignored it. I threw my arms around his neck and brought his lips to mine. I like it when you get jealous, I said, and then walked away. Shayne of course followed me and then pulled me to a stop. He was bothered by the fact that I was alone with Jace. I wasn't doing anything bad. Yes, he caught us hugging, but that's all we did. What were you two talking about? My mate, Jace said, coming up behind Shayne. Did it have to be alone with 𝐊𝐤𝐳? Shayne growled. Stop. I told him. We just talked. You were touching each other, Shayne stated, as if that explained everything. Yeah, and I said, raising a brow. 𝐊𝐤𝐳𝐸 𝐷𝐸 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I don't start with me, I said, frowning. I'm going to go lay down in our room, and could you please tell Jake? He was waiting for me and I got sidetracked. Sorry about that, Jace said. You can't leave. 𝐊𝐤𝐳𝐸 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. People are still outside and, all right, I snapped. I'm going to go find Jake. I grumbled and went to go look for Jake. I was ready for the day to be over. I wasn't used to being around so many people. I found 𝐵𝐸 and Jake standing by a group of people who were laughing. You sure Keelan? Jake said, giving the group the stink eye. Sorry, I had a run-in with Alpha Jace. Everything okay? He finally turned to look at me. I nodded and looked at 𝐵𝐸. She was currently inspecting her nails as if they were the most interesting thing ever. Bray, can we please talk tomorrow? Actually talk, and I don't mean you making me go around in circles. Despite what you think, 𝐵𝐸 said, I don't hate you and wouldn't do that. This is just as important to me as it is to you. Why, I asked suspiciously. We'll talk tomorrow where there aren't as many peeping ears, Jade said, looking around at the pack members. She kept her voice low so only I could hear. Also, Jake needs to stay out of it. I won't say anything to anyone, he said, frowning. I know, but I just don't feel like telling you, 𝐵𝐸 said, smugly. We'll talk tomorrow, she told me. With that, 𝐵𝐸 walked off into the house. I sighed and rested my back against the tree that was close. Tomorrow seemed like a long time away, and it did nothing to calm my nerves. Chapter 19. I woke up in the morning looking for 𝐵𝐸 around the house. I wasn't sure if she would have stayed here, but my wolf picked up her scent. I found her lounging out back by the small garden. I sat down on the grass next to her and followed her gaze. She was looking at a group of wolves who were training, and my wolf didn't miss that Shayne was with those wolves. My wolf and I felt pride in seeing him teach the young pups how to fight. You're so lucky, 𝐵𝐸 said. Why is that? Since the day that I met you, it seemed like you had it all. Now you have a mate and he's an alpha. Do you know how many people would kill for that? She turned to look at me. Of course I knew how many people would kill for that. For most people, being a Luna was like being set on a pedestal. But those people who envy the Lunas were just low. They were jealous people, and that wouldn't get them anywhere in life with that envy. I know. 𝐿𝐸𝐻𝐸𝐸 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. But it's a pain in the butt as well. Braille laughed, and it surprised me to see her like that. Every time I was around 𝐵𝐸, she always seemed to be in a bitter mood. Since 𝐵𝐸 got here, she seemed very different than what I had last seen her. Now she seemed to be more laid back, more kind, and a bit more happy. Something in the past few years had changed her. Just like something had changed me in the past few weeks. I wouldn't know, but I have an idea. Jake probably told you I found my mate. I'm happy for you, 𝐵𝐸, I said honestly. I'm glad you have someone now. You mean someone other than Jake? 𝐵RE raised a brow. What Jake and you had is none of my business. I really am sorry if you thought I was trying to take him from you. I don't see him that way and I'm really sorry. It's okay. I was infatuated with Jake and I'm still young. I was 16 at the time and thought that he was the one for me. I didn't really care much about finding a mate. After we had that fight I left and told myself I wouldn't come back. I turned 17 and a few months after that I found my mate. Where'd you find him? I was enjoying seeing 𝐵RE like this. She looked like a little girl that had just discovered a new toy. I was happy for her. She deserved to be happy and I felt bad that I appeared like an intruder. That's where you come in. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. Me. What do I have to do with that? Confused. I found my mate because I stumbled across a pack. The alpha was just about ready to kill me, but turns out the beta is my mate. A light blush creeping on her cheeks. The beta? I asked, raising a brow. Yeah. So do you want to know how you play in all of this? 𝐵RE looked at me and there was a small playful smile on her lips. Somehow I felt like I wasn't going to like what she had to say. Okay. Can you guess who the alpha is? I looked at 𝐵RE for a while as I tried to play this guessing game with her. How the hell was I supposed to know which pet her mate belonged to? I was happy for her, but I really didn't need her to go around in circles. All I wanted to know was what 𝐊𝐲𝐼 had to do with now. I said, shaking my head as realization kicked in. Justin is your mate. So now you know who my alpha is. 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐬 𝐸𝐿𝐬 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐬 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. 𝐵RE nodded, confirming what I had just realized. 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 was the alpha of the pack she now had to belong to. How twisted and messed up that was that. 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 was the alpha of Imperial pack. My old pack. How much do you know? I asked, looking down. They're all looking for you. I didn't tell Justin that I knew you. Things seemed pretty serious and intense. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Of course I might have let something slip and 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 wanted to kill me. Justin told me to run away and once things were calm then I could come back. That was 2 years ago. So that's what you meant when you said I wasn't the only one running away. 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐻𝐼 𝐸𝐿𝐬 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I've been away from Justin for 2 years. He doesn't agree with what 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 is doing and he thinks he has become obsessed with you. He's so set on finding you, it's crazy. 𝐵RE said, shaking her head. I know I was probably a major bitch to you and I'm sorry. I admit that a part of me wanted to see you get hurt because of what I thought you did to me, but that's not what I want. I left before 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 could torture anything out of me. I'm so sorry. I whispered. I felt a horrible pain in my chest. It seemed that all I was able to do was cause problems. I had brought pain to other people. I was a horrible person and I deserved anything that 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 wanted to do to me. I even deserved whatever Silverlight wanted to do to me. I killed Belluna, who turned out to be Shayne's little sister. It's not your fault. 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 is a crazy motherfucker. Did you really find out why they are looking for me? 𝐨𝐥𝐃, this is very bad, 𝐵RE said. Imperial and Silverlight are working on a truce. What? Shocked. Turns out that they both have something of an interest. And that something would be me. I don't think you hurt that girl, 𝐵RE said, speaking slowly so her words would sink in. I think 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 is blaming it on you. She died at my hands. 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐻𝐼 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Speaking quietly, I twisted her neck and heard it snap. Are you sure she was dead? 𝐵RE asked. When I talked to Justin, he made it seem like she wasn't fully dead. I know they tricked you into killing her. You didn't know she was the Luna. I did it anyways. He ordered you to do it, 𝐵RE said. It's not like you could have gone against an alpha's order. I turned my attention back in front of us and looked at Shayne as he moved around the pups that tried to go at him. Alex was there with him and he was fighting against the others as well. I watched Shayne's graceful movements and I was just so amazed at looking at him. She was Shayne's sister. 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼𝐼 𝐊𝐼𝐻𝐼 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. My voice barely audible. Bray was quiet for a moment before speaking again. There's no way you could have known Shayne would end up being your mate. I shouldn't have killed her. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬 𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝𝐬. I was trying so hard not to cry, but I couldn't help it. Bray surprised me with wrapping her arms around me. I started to cry, and even as I tried to stop, it just kept coming. I hated myself so much for this. It's not your fault. 𝐊𝐢 whispered as she ran small circles on my back. What's wrong with her? My body froze when I heard Shayne's voice. I felt his hands touch my skin and I turned to him. I threw myself at him and wrapped my arms around his neck. Baby, what's wrong? Shayne asked. Worriedly. Why are you crying? You know I care about you, right? 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬 𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝𝐬. Sobbing. That I would never do anything to hurt you. I would never do that to you. Sage, why are you talking like this? Promise me you won't ever leave me. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳. Why would I do that? Sage, please tell me what's wrong. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬. Shayne lifted me up from the ground and I felt the cool air from inside hit me. We were moving and I assumed we were heading to the bedroom. I knew I was right when my back hit the soft bed. Shayne tried to free himself from me but child. I needed him. It's all right. I'm not going anywhere. Shayne brought me on his lap and continued to rub small circles on my back. I snuggled closer to him and closed my eyes. Having him close helped me a lot. It soothed both me and my wolf. We sat like that for a long time until I finally managed to calm down. I knew what I wanted most now. Everything in my world now revolved around Shayne. Make love to me, I whispered. What? I looked up at Shayne and wiped my teary eyes. I want you. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳. I tangled my fingers in his hair and brought his lips to mine. I moved in his lap so I was straddling his waist. Shayne reacted to my actions immediately. His hands went down to my bum and soon he was ripping off my clothes. I made a decision and it wasn't going to change now. I give him something he will love. I'll bring a bit of happiness to him. I'll give Shayne a baby. Chapter 20. Don't forget to check out my new start of a trilogy, Bloodlust. I said, looking up at him. My head had been resting on his chest as I ran small circles on his chest. Occasionally I could feel him shivering under my touch. We were tangled in the sheets and neither of us wanted to move her. Your mother asked me the other day when you presented me to the pack if we were going to have kids anytime soon. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳. My mother has been looking forward to that for a while now. Do you? Do you even want to have kids? I would love it if you had my pup. Nothing would make me more happy knowing we could make something so beautiful. I smiled at Shayne and continued to rest my head on his chest. I liked the thought of us having a family. It made both my wolf and I happy. Do you want to have a baby? Yeah, of course, he answered with a second thought. I pulled myself away from me and sat up in my knees. I kept the sheets wrapped around my body. I tucked my hair behind my ear and bit down on my lip nervously. I mean, 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳. Taking a deep breath. Do you want to have a baby? Shayne looked at me blankly and then a wide smile spread across his face. He pulled me down and rolled over so he was now into of my and my back was on the soft bed. You want us to have a baby now? Shayne asked, raising a brow. I love you. 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐫𝐬 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐻𝐸𝐳. At that moment Shayne kissed me roughly. I could feel the excitement radiating off of him. That's the first time you've ever said that. He mumbled against my lips. I do. I love you. I love you so much. He said, nuzzling his nose to mine. And honestly I've been hoping I'd leave you knocked up. What? I laughed. I want a 𝐊𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 soon. I've kind of been aiming for that, he said a bit nervously. Then we better get your mom that grandbaby. 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿. Pulling him down to me again? So Brit asked. Negative, I said with a stressful sight. Again? You've been trying for 2 months now. Bray said, hopping off of my bed. Don't you think that you would have gotten knocked up by now? Shayne says that it'll happen when it's time. I think I should go to the doctor just to make sure everything is okay. 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿. I'm sure everything is fine. 𝐿𝐿 rolled her eyes. Maybe you should stop trying to get knocked up for the wrong reasons. In the past 2 months, 𝐿𝐿 had become a close friend. Jake was surprised that we had been able to form a friendship after not getting along as well. Jake usually stuck around Sam and Chase. They were usually with Shayne taking care of stupid pack business like always. Shut up and help me get dinner ready. Alpha Jace will be here with his mate. He had been over a couple of times with Alpha Jace. Jace still hadn't been able to tell her about werewolves. He was stuck in a bad situation and he couldn't seem to find the right timing. We talked once about how he came across to finding 𝐿𝐿 and the tough situation he was in. She had someone else before him. Shayne mentioned once how Jace despised humans. Rogues attacked an eerie campsite close to Jace's territory. There shouldn't have been any survivors, but somehow 𝐿𝐿 lived. I don't see why he doesn't just claim her, Bree said, tossing the salad. He's being cute. He wants to win her heart first. 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿. It will be useless if she flips out once he tells her the truth. We finished making dinner for everyone and Jace had arrived a while ago. I assumed they were with Shayne in the pack building. Shayne had mind-linked me and told me they would be arriving shortly. Jake and Sam were already here. Jace and Alex wouldn't be joining us. Apparently they both had mates to attend to. I learned a bit more about Alex. He found his mate when he was 16 and she was still 15. He waited until she turned 16 to claim her. Her parents were thrilled that she was the baby's mate and had her move in with Alex. They had a little boy 3 years ago and he was the cutest thing ever. I felt a bit of jealousy when she stopped by the other day. Her name was Emily and she was gorgeous. She was a petite redhead that had freckles covering her entire body. Compared to Alex, she looked like a midget. With their son, they made a nice family. Where's the food? I heard Jake's booming voice before he even entered the dining room. Bray and I had just finished setting down everything on the table. We had to bring in extra chairs for everyone and connect to tables. A few more members from Jace's pack were here too. Wash your hands. And don't touch anything until you do. Bray snapped before Jake could dip his finger in the cheesecake she made. Geez, since when did you both become like twins? Jake said, walking out. Bray and I looked at each other and shrugged. Apart from Jake, I felt like 𝐿𝐿 was also becoming one of my best friends. She told me things about her and her mate. A few details of her past. I liked that she trusted me and she was opening up. Shayne. 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿. The and others from the pack walked in. Immediately 𝐿𝐿 ordered them to wash their hands. They all exited the dining room and headed to wash their hands while 𝐿𝐿 helped me set up the silverware by each plate. Everyone came back and took their seats at the table. We each started piling food on our plates and dug in. Shayne kept his hand on my thigh the whole time while sitting next to me. Occasionally he would give it a squeeze, making me kick him. I hope you boys know that you are all helping with the dishes. 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿. No way, Jake protested. Can't you girls do it? Shayne said. After we cooked everything, 𝐿𝐿 scoffed. I think not. Us ladies will go take a walk outside. 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿 𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿𝐿. Duh. You don't have to wash them. These men might as well be useful for something. They giggled and nodded. Once we finished eating, we shooed the boys into the kitchen. BRE, and I headed out through the back. So, how's the love life going? I asked 𝐊𝐢. She groaned. Jace can be so harsh sometimes. Did you know he has people following me everywhere? Maybe he's just worried about you. To my agent extraordinaire, Myelin Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. We heard what happened to your friends. I'm sure he's just trying to keep you safe. BRE said. Keep me safe from what? The bear attack happened months ago. He's always so mysterious around me, and everyone acts like they need to be careful about not saying something wrong when they're around. We're really close to Jace. He loves you. He really does. Jace is like family, and like everyone in our family. We love differently. I try to explain. Maybe he doesn't want anyone to hurt you unintentionally. 𝐊𝐢 looked at me confused. Our love is much deeper than anything. Jace is different. He's just like Shayne. He would do anything to protect me no matter what. My boyfriend and I have been apart for such a long time. BRE added. But I know he only loves me. 2 years apart is like an eternity. We're connected by souls. He was made for me and I was made for him. 𝐊𝐢 said. Sounds deep. You have no idea. Bray and I both said in unison. To my agent extraordinaire, Myelin Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We all turned around to see Jake coming to us. We had walked quite a bit far from the house, but having a good hearing sense made it easy for him to get my attention. When he reached us, he was out of breath. Jake hunched over to get some air into his lungs. I wondered how far he had run to be out of breath. He looked frantic when he tried to talk. All of his words came out in a slur. Jake, breathe. To my agent extraordinaire, Myelin Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Spit it out, Bray said, patting his back roughly when Jake started coughing. He's here, a lot of them are here. He chopped out. 𝐶𝐿verlight have asked to enter the territory. What? BRE asked, shocked. What's a 𝐶𝐿verlight? 𝐊𝐢 said, looking at a loss. What do you mean territory now? I said, shaking my head. No, chapter 21, are you sure you're okay? Shayne asked, concerned. I'm fine. To my agent extraordinaire, Myelin Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I just felt a little light-headed. After Jake came telling me 𝐶𝐿verlight was entering the territory, we all rushed back to the house. I felt bad for 𝐿𝐢 because she had no idea what was going on. I was panicking too much to stop and explain to her or try to come up with a reason why I was so frightened. I headed straight to my room and left everyone else downstairs. I heard when the cars pulled closer to the house. I could feel Shayne near. His steps sounded rushed as he headed to our room. Do you want me to get the pack doctor? No, go greet the people downstairs and excuse me. To my agent extraordinaire, Myelin Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'll be down in a sec. To my agent extraordinaire, Myelin Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He said, kissing the top of my head. Of course I wouldn't go down there any moment. I wouldn't leave the room until 𝐶𝐿verlight left. I just hoped they wouldn't try staying the night. I didn't know what business 𝐶𝐿verlight has here, but I hoped they would leave soon. Are you sure you're okay? Shayne asked, concerned. Eric is the alpha of 𝐶𝐿verlight and the man looking to kill me. His mate was Shayne's sister. Nothing good come out of this. He would recognize me quickly if I showed my face anywhere. It was pitch black in the room when I woke up. I was completely alone. I turned on the light by the nightstand and the room dimmed. I rubbed my eyes lazily and gave a big yawn. I threw the sheets off of me and sat up. I stayed there for a couple of moments while I tried to collect my thoughts. The nerves were setting in the pit of my stomach. The more I thought about it, the more I felt sick. I rushed to the bathroom and threw the toilet seat up. I crouched over the seat trying to fight back the bile that was pushing to come out. I took a couple of deep breaths before I gave myself the okay to get up. I brushed my teeth more than needed. I could taste the vomit at the back of my throat. I walked out of the bathroom and froze when I felt someone in the room. I relaxed when my wolf recognized Shayne. He was moving around in the room. Hey. 𝐿𝐷𝐼𝐴𝐺𝐼𝐻𝐿 heartfelt thanks to your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Trying to get his attention. Are you feeling better? Shayne asked. Just a little dizzy. I walked over to the bed and sat down. Did Silverlight leave? No, Shayne said. My heart dropped down to my stomach and my mouth went dry. They're staying in a guest house. Eric is family and he'll be visiting my mother tomorrow. When are they leaving? After they visit my mother. I don't believe they will be back, 𝐊𝐢𝐬, was all I could say. I walked to the bed and climbed on top. I laid on my side so I could get a better view of Shayne. My wolf purred as she saw him take off his shirt and his jeans. Shayne caught me staring at him and raised a brow. I gave him a playful smile and purposely ran my hand along my hips and thighs. He got into bed and moved towards me. My body was now pressed against the mattress with his body hovering over mine. You have no idea how delicious you look, Shayne said, running his nose along my jaw. You're so beautiful. 𝐿𝐷𝐼𝐴𝐺𝐼𝐻𝐿 heartfelt thanks to your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I giggled as he placed kisses along my neck. My hands moved up to his hair and gripped tightly. He groaned and ran his tongue over my mark. A cold shiver ran through my entire body. Say it again, he murmured against my neck. Say what? That you love me. He pulled away and I met his eyes. There were swirls between black and brown. I love you, I said, and that was all it took before he crashed his lips to mine. 𝐭𝐮𝐧, wake up. I groaned and pushed the hand away that was trying to shake me awake. I was tired and I wanted to sleep. Shayne had taken a lot of energy out of me, and I wanted to gain that back by sleeping. Wake up. My eyes fluttered open. I gave 𝐵𝐴 a glare. 𝐵𝐴's eyes sparkled in amusement. I was still aware that I was without clothes under the covers, so, and I sat up. I made sure to keep them around me. Seems like you had a good night, she said with a playful smile on her lips. Was there any reason why you woke me up? 𝐿𝐷𝐼𝐴𝐺𝐼𝐻𝐿 heartfelt thanks to your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Sleepily. I came here to tell you that Silverlight are leaving. But they haven't left yet. Jake said they were in the pack building. I assume they will be leaving once they finish, Bray said, which is why I came out of hiding. I'm not coming out until they leave. I won't. I'm right there with you. But you could at least come downstairs with me to eat. There are a lot of people here I don't know and they look at me like I'm a rogue or something. You are a rogue. I laughed. 𝐿𝐷𝐼𝐴𝐺𝐼𝐻𝐿 heartfelt thanks to your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She stated, I used to be a rogue. Fine. Just let me change. Again her eyes danced with playfulness and she gave a knowing smile. I rolled my eyes and threw a pillow at her face. If someone were to tell me we would become close to best friends, I would have laughed at their faces. Bray closed the door behind her and I threw the covers off. I walked to the closet and slowly got dressed. I kept it casual and put my hair in a messy bun. Once I had finished, I went to look for 𝐵𝐴 in the kitchen. There is nothing to eat, she complained as soon as she spotted me. There's plenty to eat. You just have to cook it. She groaned and closed the refrigerator. She took a seat on the island and let her head rest in her hands. But I suck at cooking, she pouted in. Get some eggs out and I'll make you an omelette, I said, taking out the pans. I hovered over the stove while 𝐵𝐴 complained the whole time about everything. She said she hated being in a pack. I did too. At some point I did, but now I found they were like family. When I finished making the food, we sat down on the island and ate. She kept rambling on about packs and how she couldn't believe her mate belonged to one. I wasn't sure what she was expecting to find. You miss him? I asked 𝐵𝐴 when she started talking about her mate. Do you even have to ask? I guess not. How did you end up in this pack? Jake had some things to take care of and I ended up at a cafe in town. One of the pups working there was from this pack and realized I was a rogue. I tried to run, but as you can tell, things didn't go the way I planned. At least you're with your mate now. I'd rather not be here if it means he will never find out, I said in a quiet voice. Bray gathered up our plates and took them to the sink. I walked over next to her and put the cups there. She washed the plates. Things will turn out okay. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 tried to reassure me. I hope so. Stop being in such a sour mood. I suddenly felt water splashing on me. Bray was holding the hose from the sink and is squirting water at me. 𝐊𝐲𝐬, I squealed. She laughed as she continued to soak my clothes. I tried to take the hose from her hand and in the process manages to get her back. We were both laughing and having fun by now that we didn't even notice people had walked in. Someone cleared their throat and I glanced over to the group of people standing by the entrance. I noticed Shayne was there. Both of our laughter died down when we saw who was standing next to Shayne. Bray froze and I noticed she moved behind me. Shayne was laughing as he shook his head at me, probably due to my childish behavior. But I was no longer looking at him. I was looking at the man standing next to him. His eyes were on me and they were dark. This was it. This was the moment I was dreading. Eric took a step forward and let out a vicious growl. My body froze and everything seemed to happen in slow motion. Bray cried behind me as Eric launched at me. Chapter 22. I screamed as Eric's claws scratched across my chest. Shayne was in front of him, pinning him down in an instant. 𝐊𝐲𝐬's arms wrapped around me as I fell back. I started crying when I saw the 3 open cuts spouting out blood. More people rushed into the kitchen and Sam was in front of me now. I looked over his shoulder and saw Shayne dragging Eric out of the kitchen. Seconds later, Jake came rushing through and I saw the look of horror on his face. We need to get her help. 𝐊𝐲𝐬 cried. I felt her press something against my chest and saw she has taken off her shirt to try to stop the blood. Shayne then walked in and looked pained. The pack doctor's on his way, Shayne said. He knelt down next to me and gently slid his arms under me. I winced at the pain and tried not to cry out. Bray kept pressing the shirt to my chest as Shayne tried to carry me up the steps. Being wounded by a werewolf took time to heal. That's what makes us dangerous to each other. For werewolves we heal quickly, but if we are scratched or bitten by another wolf, it's much more dangerous. It takes a maximum of hours to heal a deep wound and maybe even days. Shayne kicked the door open to our bedroom and gently laid me on the bed. 𝐊𝐲𝐬's shirt was now soaked in my blood. Shayne had disappeared somewhere and soon came back with a towel. He removed 𝐊𝐲𝐬's shirt and pressed the towel to my wounds. Where is he? Jake growled. I'm going to kill the son of a bitch. I took care of it. Shayne snapped. He won't get near her while I'm around. I'm going to kill him. Where is he? Jake. 𝐿𝐻𝐬 𝐊𝐲𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐻𝐬𝐧. I didn't want him getting hurt because of me. My eyes were beginning to blur and my head was starting to spin. I could feel Shayne shaking me and I could barely see everyone around me. I could see a man rushing in with a box and Shayne's important men behind him. I looked over at 𝐊𝐲𝐬. Her sandy-colored hair was stained with blood and the whole front of her body had blood as well. She was crying into Jake's arms as he held on to her. The next thing I saw was Sam's wide eyes when he saw me. I could see a man now cutting off my view from everyone. He removed the towel from my chest and was about to touch me when I saw Shayne pushing him away. His moves seemed so slow, but I knew they were fast. Everything around me was moving slowly. To my agent extraordinaire, 𝐿𝐻𝐬𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐻𝐬𝐧. To my agent extraordinaire, 𝐿𝐻𝐬𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐻𝐬𝐧. Sam, Jake and even 𝐊𝐲𝐬 had to drag Shayne out. I looked up at the doctor that looked slightly frightened as his hands reached over me. I felt pain but I didn't dare scream. I closed my eyes tightly and hoped that it would all end. Do you all understand what you need to do? Ryder asked. We all stood in line in our fighting stance. We were more than ready for battle. Even me, a 15-year-old wolf, one of the youngest to achieve a high ranking. Ryder said that due to me being small I was able to move quickly and have an advantage over someone much larger than me. I had the upper hand and I was strong as well. My parents, especially my dad, were very proud of me. My mom would say that maybe Ryder would pick me to replace his mate. I ignored the comment, but sure enough Ryder always showed a liking to me. I thought of myself as weak and I thought it was one of the reasons why the Luna was killed. She wasn't strong enough to fight. Get to your positions, Ryder said. Yes, Alpha. We all said in unison. Today we would be attacking Silver Light. We had received several attacks and threats from that pack. Our goal was to take down every single member. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐿. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. May I have a word with you? I stayed behind as everyone else took their positions to hide in the trees. I slowly walked up to Ryder and kept my head down. I never really liked being alone with him. He always gave me a look that I didn't like. Yes, Alpha. I told you to just call me Ryder. You can look at me. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐿. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I looked up at Ryder and he had a small smile on his lips. He reached down at my face and tucked a loose curl behind my ear. There was that look again, the look that said he'd rather be doing other things with me. Enthusiasm. A shiver ran down my spine at just the unpleasant thought. Are you scared? Worry laced his voice. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐿. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I admit, don't be. You'll be fine. Remember what I asked you to do. I nodded my head and looked down at the ground. Of course I remembered what his mission for me was. He had to use his alpha title on me in order to accept. I had to kill a specific someone from the pack. Ryder said she was a traitor and she needed to die. I always fought in small fights with the pack but never had I killed someone. My job was to take them down and keep moving to the next. The rest of the pack members took care of the killing, so when Ryder specifically asked me to kill this girl I refused. I couldn't kill someone. That was not the kind of person I wanted to be. He of course didn't take it too well. He told me I had to do it but still I refused. That's when he used his alpha title to give me an order. With that my wolf gave in to submission. Yes, I know what I must do. Don't let me down. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐿. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. There might be a place at my side for you if you do this. With all due respect, I said, finally meeting his eyes. I wouldn't want a position that has me stuck to your side. I walked away and got into my position. Ryder gave the order to attack and reswarmed Silver Light. I took down as many wolves as I could while trying not to get killed in the process. My wolf was able to move swiftly around everyone. While trying to do this, I had to remind myself what I needed to do. She was easier to find than I had expected. Ryder was right when he said she would be surrounded by wolves trying to protect her. She must be really important for people to want to protect her. But she was a traitor to our pack. At least that's what Ryder told me. She betrayed the pack and that's why we needed to attack. I needed to take her down. The wolves made it harder to get to her, but I had a chance to shift into my human form. I was completely nude, but that didn't bother me. I tried to slip through the wolves, but it was too difficult. Thankfully I had help and others who were able to distract the wolves. The girl was in her human form and she started at me with wide eyes. Her brown eyes had a sad look in them and her brown short hair looked wild. She didn't look much older than me, and I couldn't believe this was the girl Ryder wanted me to kill. Please don't do this. Her eyes were glassy and she held her arms up. Her small dress clung to her body and a tear ran down her face. I'm sorry, I said, closing in on her. Alpha's orders. I charged at her and she did the same. We both fell to the ground as we each tried to get the other first. I had to admit she was a goo fighter. Her arms were around my neck as her legs straddled my back. You don't want to do this. Just kill me. 𝐿𝐷𝐷𝐿 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐿. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Through gritted teeth, I wanted her to end me so that way I didn't have to end her. I didn't want to kill her. No, she let me go and stepped away from me. I'm not heartless like your precious Alpha. I stood up and looked at her shocked. She wasn't even going to try. Why would Ryder want her dead? Kill her? I looked behind me to see Ryder. He wore only shorts as he approached us. He stood behind me, and by the look on his face I could see he wasn't happy that I hadn't killed this girl yet. Do it now, Ryder said. You don't have to do what he says. The girl narrowed her eyes at Ryder. The only reason he wants to kill me is because Eric. We don't have time for your lies. Ryder growled. Kill her now. 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐬 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Ryder growled. This is the only way to save the others. She betrayed us and she told Silverlight we were coming. She's a traitor to our pack. What are you talking about? I don't belong to your pack and nor did I ever. She snapped. I can't do it. 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐬 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Tears streaming down my eyes. Kill her before I kill your family and everyone you ever loved. Ryder threatened. Without a warning, the girl came at me, knocking me to the ground. I didn't miss the wolf that was now battling with Ryder. I had the girl pinned under me in seconds. She tried to get me off of her. I kept my knee on her shoulder to keep her from fighting while I had her head in a tight grip. The tears continued to roll down my face. If you don't kill her now, I will kill your family. Ryder's voice ran through my head, and with that I did it as quickly as I could. I heard a snap and the girl stopped struggling against me. I quickly jumped off of her and backed away. Her body laid motionless in the ground. I looked over at the massive black wolf that had his eyes on me. He held out and his eyes were dark on me. Before he would attack me, Ryder was then knocking him out cold. Ryder shifted back to his human form and ran to the girl. I turned away and covered my face with my hands as I cried. I killed her. I had killed someone. The air filled with howls and with my cries. Ryder grabbed me by the arm and spun me around. He looked furious at me, and he started dragging me away. We didn't get very far before we were swarmed with members of Silverlight. She betrayed me. Ryder screamed, pointing an accusing finger at me. I did not come for a fight. She is the one that disobeyed my orders. I shook my head as I heard several vicious growls. He was throwing the blame in me. The bastard tricked me. He was trying to wash his filthy hands by blaming me. I didn't do it. 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐬 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You killed someone without my consent. Ryder growled. No, I said, shaking my head. If I were you, I'd run. His thoughts sounded amused in my mind. All of the wolves, including Imperial, had their cold eyes on me. They were circling in on me, and I did just what Ryder said. Chapter 23. I woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. When I looked around, I noticed I was alone in the room. I sat up and quickly lay back down when I felt the sharp pain in my chest. I took the sheets off of me and saw that I had a bandage reaching all across my chest. They looked slightly stained with blood, but nothing major. I did the stupid thing and lifted the gauze and saw that my wound had closed. I raised my brows in surprise. They had healed even more quickly than I had expected. This time I carefully sat up without causing myself too much pain. I walked into the bathroom and I had to say I looked like crap. My face was pale and I had dark circles under my eyes. My lips looked just as dry as my mouth felt. I sighed and went to the closet to change into something more comfortable. I grabbed one of Shayne's shirts and I pulled on yoga shorts. I walked back into the room and that's when the door opened. I froze in place and waited for the person to step in. I sighed when I saw Bree's sandy-colored hair. 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐬 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You're awake. Bree rushed to my side. I feel like crap. We've all been so worried. You were out for a long time and you had a high fever. I'm fine now. 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐬 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Slowly walking towards the bed, Bree helped me and she placed the pillows in place so I could sit up. Sage, you've been out for almost 3 days. Shayne was going crazy thinking you were going to die. His father had to come here to calm him down. He wanted to start a war with Silverlight. I was out for 3 days. How could that be possible? It seemed only yesterday I was being attacked by Eric. Bree, where's Shayne? Does he know about? Bree bit her lip and sat on the edge of the bed. She looked rather on edge and seemed really nervous. I could tell something was wrong. When the pack doctor came, we all had to drag Shayne out. He nearly killed the poor guy when he touched you. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝 chuckled, but it soon died down. He had to lock 𝐿𝐸ch in the cells. Shayne wanted to kill him, but his father wouldn't allow it. That's where 𝐿𝐸ch got his chance in. I closed my eyes and tried not to break down. Of course he would tell Shayne about what happened 6 years ago. What other reason could he have to kill me? He told him. I asked quietly. Yeah. He told him that you were the one that killed his mate. Shayne's sister. The good thing is that Shayne didn't believe him. He said that 𝐿𝐸ch was becoming so obsessed with finding the girl that killed his sister that he probably mistakes you for the killer. But I did kill his sister. I whispered. Sage, aren't you listening to me? Bray reached for my hands and her eyes held a bit of happiness. Shayne didn't believe him. You can tell him that isn't true and he'll believe you. You don't have to tell him anything. Where is he now? He just left 5 minutes ago to the pack building. 𝐿𝐸ch came back asking for permission to come into the territory to see you. He said he wanted to make sure it wasn't you and apologize for what he did. Shayne didn't take the bait, so 𝐿𝐸ch is causing a commotion. And Jake, he's downstairs. Do you want me to get him for you? I nodded and 𝐊𝐸𝐬𝐷𝐞𝐝 quickly darted out of the room. Shayne chose to believe that it wasn't me. He believes that 𝐿𝐸ch was lying about me killing his mate. But he wasn't lying. Jake came rushing in the room and, when he saw me, he fell to his knees by the bed and started crying. He held into my hands as he cried and babbled about things. I ran my hands through his hair and tried to calm him down. Bray quietly walked out of the room and closed the door. I should have been there with you. Jake, don't cry. 𝐊𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 𝐬𝐼𝐸𝐵 Heartfelt thanks to your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A sob escaping me. I should have killed the son of a bitch. Jake growled. Stop. 𝐊𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Please stop. I hated seeing Jake like this. The only time he ever cried was when he talked about his family. He only broke down when he talked about his past life. I'm so sorry I wasn't there to protect you. It wasn't your fault. Jake, 𝐊𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks to your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I got myself into this mess. I should have been honest with Shayne from the beginning. I should have taken you from here. Jake said, regret clear in his voice. I should have taken you before you got hurt. It was inevitable. 𝐊𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks to your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. If I would have told Shayne from the beginning then, this would have been avoided. And what? Let him kill you. An eye for an eye. I said more to myself than to him. I always tried to tell myself that if I were caught, I'd happily take death. It was exactly what I deserved for killing that girl. For years the image of her played through my mind. That day haunted my dreams and turned them into nightmares. 𝐿𝐸ch had every right to attack me and hurt me. I hurt him by killing his mate, and I don't blame him for wanting to get even. He wanted me to pay for killing his mate, and I knew that soon I would be paying for that. Even if I somehow managed to get Shayne to believe that I hadn't done it, I couldn't continue hiding. What if 𝐿𝐸ch himself wasn't sure it was me? Having him face to face would only confirm what he already knew. I couldn't keep carrying this on. Don't say that. Jake snapped. I deserve it. Jake. Ryder is a sick bastard, and as soon as I have him in front of me, I'll rip his fucking head off. Don't. 𝐊𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝 Heartfelt thanks to your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It doesn't matter anymore. It does matter. He insisted. He took advantage of you. I didn't have to go through with it, but I did. I had tried to go home after I ran away from 𝐊𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝's territory. Others from the pack and my family were there. They accused me of being a traitor and ratting them out to 𝐊𝐸𝐷𝐞𝐝. I was shunned and kicked out of the pack. I had been a rogue for a small period of time, and in that time I had seen so many deaths. Mostly I killed some wolves, and the only reason was to stay alive. I was scared. I was small, and they tried to take advantage of me. So many times I almost got wrapped or I almost managed to get myself killed. It was horrible. It got better after I met Jake. He made you do it. Jake said, holding my face in his hands. It wasn't your fault. I stayed quiet. I didn't want to continue arguing with Jake about this. I suddenly felt an uncontrollable pain and my heart filled with so much sadness. I threw myself at Jake even if my chest stung from the wounds. I kept my arms wrapped tightly around in his neck as I cried. To 𝐿𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐿 𝐬𝐷𝐸𝐿 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐂𝐸𝐳. Jake said, rubbing small circles in my back. I'm so sorry. To 𝐿𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐿 𝐬𝐷𝐸𝐿 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐂𝐸𝐳. The door opened and I looked up to see Shayne. He had a sad look in his eyes when he saw me cling to Jake. I pulled away and Jake stood up. I'll give you guys some space. Jake kissed me cheek. He walked past Shayne and closed the door behind him. Shayne walked over to me and sat on the edge of the bed. He took hold of one of my hands and brought it up to his lips. He placed a small kiss and then brushed his lips against mine. You had me worried sick. Shayne whispered against my lips. To 𝐿𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐿 𝐬𝐷𝐸𝐿 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐸𝐳. I'm sorry for Eric's outbursts. He usually isn't like that at all. I don't know what came over him. It's okay. To 𝐿𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐿 𝐬𝐷𝐸𝐿 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐸𝐳. Shayne pressed his lips to mine. It's all right. Eric isn't going to hurt you anymore. He is no longer welcomed here in this pack. No, Shayne, you don't have to, it's done. I'm just glad you're not hurt. The pack doctor said you had lost blood. Thankfully you weren't carrying the pup or else it could have been extremely dangerous. I could hear the sadness in his voice. He had been trying to conceive for a while now, but any test I took came out negative. In a way I was relieved but also disappointed. Shayne, I want to talk to you about this whole thing. We don't have to. Eric isn't going to hurt you anymore. I shook my head at him. He was going to continue speaking, but I held my hand up to stop him. You asked me so many times what I was hiding from you. This got Shayne's attention and he sat quietly. Shayne held both of my hands in his and his eyes bore into mine. I was kicked out of my pack when I was 15 because they thought I was a traitor. Shayne growled, but I ignored it. Before I was kicked out, the Alpha had planned an attack against another pack. He asked me to do something for him. The more I went on, the tighter I held onto his hands. I felt the tears stinging in my eyes and I felt them spill over. I belonged to Imperial Pack and Alpha Rider had me kill someone. You were part of Imperial Pack? Shayne asked, surprised. Yeah. And the pack we attacked was Silver Light. Why would he do that? Shayne asked, angrily. I don't know. We didn't question why he was planning the attack. Most didn't know that Silver Light was ready for us. I had a feeling Ryder knew because he asked me to do something before we attacked. He asked me to kill this girl and I did. Who did you kill? I didn't know if Shayne had asked because he wasn't catching on to what I was trying to tell him or he actually wanted to know. The tears continued to spill down my face knowing I had to tell him the truth. It was now or never. I didn't know who she was until it was done. To 𝐿𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐿 𝐬𝐷𝐸𝐿 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐸𝐳. Sage, Shayne said carefully. Who did you kill? To 𝐿𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐿 𝐬𝐷𝐸𝐿 heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, 𝐿𝐸𝐳. I said so quietly I swore he didn't hear me, but I knew he did. The Luna of Silver Light, your sister. Chapter 24. As soon as those words had left my mouth, Shayne froze. His eyes were wide, and he just looked at me as if he were trying to process my words. My hands were still in his, but he quickly pulled away as if my touch was acid. Shayne stood up and backed away from me. I looked at him through my blurry eyes and I felt cold without him close to me. What did you say? Shayne asked quietly. I didn't mean to. I quickly said. I didn't know who she was. Your lie, Shayne said with disbelief. I wanted to tell you but I couldn't. I realized it when you told me about your sister and I wanted to tell you then. I was so scared and I didn't know what to do. Stop. I'm so sorry. To my 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐽𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐝, heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. I didn't mean to. I said stop. Shayne growled at me. I stopped my ramble and just cried. I wiped the tears away as they continued to spill down my face. My whole body was shaking. I pressed my hands to my lap to stop them from shaking so much. I was still crying and it was starting to scare me how quiet Shayne was being. Without a word, Shayne stormed out of the room. The door slammed shut and echoed throughout the room. I let my hair fall in my hands and continued to cry. I felt a little better that Shayne at least didn't try to kill me. He looked so confused and pained. It was breaking my heart. Jake came in the room shortly after Shayne left and kept asking why I was crying. I was assuming that Jake wasn't in the house when I told Shayne about the horrible thing I had done. Jake sat on the bed next to me and was rubbing small circles on my back as I continued to cry. It took me about 20 minutes to calm down. I was laying down with my head resting on Jake's chest while he kept his arms around me. I had ignored the pain in my chest when I laid down with Jake. I was just starting to doze off when there was a light knock on the door. Sam stepped in without waiting for me to give him permission to enter. Sam looked guarded when he entered the room. Jake carefully sat up when he noticed Sam by the foot of the bed. I carefully sat up and moved my sticky hair from my face. "Sage, I need to speak with you," Sam said and looked at Jake. "Alone?" Jake looked down at me questioning and I nodded. Jake helped me as I tried to stand up. I gave him a smile at how much of a brother he was trying to be. My wounds were almost fully healed now and the pain was now subsiding. I was starting to feel better now and I rolled my eyes that he was trying to treat me like a baby. "I'll be back to check on you later," Jake said. I nodded and waited for him to walk out the door. I looked at Sam and waited for him to speak, but he remained quiet. An awkward silence had settled in the room and I opened my mouth to speak, but he beat me to it. "I want to show you something," said. I looked at him confused. What could be so important that he needed to show me? To my 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐽𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐽, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐽𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐽, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I followed Sam out of the room and walked down to the living room. I thought we were going to stop here, but Sam opened the front door. I probably should have changed if I knew we would be leaving the house. I was still wearing Shayne's shirt and my shorts. Sam didn't say anything when we continued walking. He would occasionally look back at me to make sure I was following him. I noticed that there weren't a lot of people around like there usually were on a regular basis. A couple of people walked past us and bowed to me in respect. I simply nodded or waved at them with a small smile. "Sam, where are we going?" "To the prison cells," he replied in a distant tone. "Why are we going to the prison cells?" "Sam, what's going on?" I was becoming confused on why we were going there. I was walking barefoot and the wind was slightly brushing against my skin. A shiver ran down my spine, but it wasn't because I was cold. Something to me didn't feel right and my wolf felt it too. She was on high alert. "I need to show you something." "Okay, but what is it you need to show me?" We had finally reached the outside of the prison cells. A few men stood outside of the building keeping guard. Sam continued walking, but I had now stopped. He turned around and realized I no longer followed behind him. "I'm not going in there until you tell me what this is about." To my 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐽𝐬 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷𝐞𝐽, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. "Sage, trust me," Sam said, holding out his hand. "Please, this is important." I looked at the guards who had their eyes glued to us. I sighed and took his hand as we walked into the building. We took the stairs down underground and I continued to follow Sam. He led me down a hall that I had never been through before. The hall came to a short end and I noticed there were about 6 cells isolated. It wasn't the same as others where they just carried on with up to 14 or 20 on a row. These were rather big but still looked cold and empty as the others. Stopped in front of one of the cells. This one stood in the middle left of 2. It looked different than the others. It was strange because the bed was slightly bigger than the regular ones I had seen. There were actual soft sheets and covers on the bed. There was even a nightstand that had a simple wooden lamp that was off. Sam opened the cell door with the key and stepped inside, calling me along with him. He dropped my hand and he started looking around. I did the same as he did. Being inside was different. I felt the coldness of the concrete beneath my feet. I noticed in the far right corner there was a chair with clothes that were neatly folded on top. I noticed immediately that they were girl clothes and my mind went on high alert. I turned to run for the exit, but Sam was quicker than I thought. He wrapped his arms around me and picked me off the ground. He threw me against the bed and I bounced off, hitting the floor with a thud. I quickly got up, but Sam was already closing the cell. "What are you doing?" "You're a traitor," Sam said darkly. "You lied to me." "What are you talking about?" "You killed Shayne." Shayne told him about what happened. You told him what I had done and ordered him to lock me up. "Let me explain. I trusted you and I can't believe I ever stood to protect you. Jake knew too, didn't he? You made me feel bad for you when you were playing us all." I shook my head and my eyes stung with tears. I was gripping the metal bars and I tried pulling on them. No, it wasn't like that. I didn't know she was Shayne's sister until he told me about her. "You just keep lying." Sam shook his head. "Sam, I would never lie about this. I didn't want to enough." He snapped at me. "I'll leave the Alpha to deal with you." Without another look, he turned to walk away. I shouted out for him, but he continued walking. I pulled on the metal bars and started throwing myself at them. I knew he was going to do something like this. I laid against the cold bars as I quietly cried. There were other things in the room which ended up completely destroyed. I have thrown the chair and the nightstand against the cement wall, making it break into pieces. I had thrown the sheets and the covers on the floor, ripping them with my claws. I was still fuming when I heard several rushed footsteps from down the hall. I could hear voices, but so many people were talking that I couldn't concentrate on one. When they came into view, I saw 𝐊𝐲𝐬 being carried. They opened up the cell closest to them and pushed her inside. Bray turned around and bared her canines at them, letting out a vicious growl. Shortly after, I saw them dragging Jake into the cell across from me. He was unconscious and I cried out for him when they dropped him without a care. The wolves that carried him turned to look at me confused. With one sharp growl from Alex, they quickly made their ways out. 𝐿𝐻𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐬 Heartfelt thanks to your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Bray, what did they do to him? No talking. Alex snapped. I don't listen to you. I shot at him. You're a traitor. You're beneath everyone now. Alex spat. Alex and I had never really got along. At one point it seemed we had forgotten our differences and just dealt with each other. I didn't want us to be at a silent war if it would upset Shayne. Slowly we started being okay with each other. That was out of the window now. I'm still your Luna, I reminded him. Not for long, he said, turning away to leave. Jake. I kept shouting his name, but he wouldn't wake up. Bray tried to get a better view of Jake, but it was impossible. She slumped on the floor and continued to hurt her head against the wall. 𝐵RE, what happened? I should be asking you the same thing, 𝐵RE said. But I might have an idea already. I told Shayne. �:SAGE, why would you do that? He didn't believe a word Alpha Eric said. I couldn't hide it anymore. Do you know what Shayne could do? He can actually kill you or hand you over to Eric. I know. 𝐿𝐻𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐬 Heartfelt thanks to your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. If Shayne wanted to, he could let Eric kill me. I killed his mate, who happened to be a Luna. I had broken the ultimate pack law and the penalty was always death. We had been sitting in the cell for a while, but I was still worked up. My body was shaking. My canines were out and my claws dug into my palms. The pain in my chest was no longer there, and it was now fully healed. I didn't know how long we had been down here. It really seemed like it had been hours, but I bet it had probably only been an hour or so. Jake hadn't woken up yet and I was starting to become worried. He was hard to take down. Bray explained. You weren't at the pack house, so he started going crazy. I was laying in the middle of the cell on the concrete floor when I felt exhaustion take over. I closed my eyes and let the coolness of the ground soothe me. Sage, wake up. My eyes fluttered open, but I didn't move. I could hear 𝐊𝐲𝐬 trying to get my attention. I looked up at her and laid my head back in the cold floor. Someone is coming, she whispered. I nodded my head slightly and continued to remain still. I could hear the footsteps now, and they were slowly approaching. I couldn't quite tell how many people were headed this way. As the footsteps neared, the voices became louder. My wolf easily picked up on Shayne's voice, but I still didn't move. What did you do to her? I suddenly heard Shayne growl. Why is she on the floor? What the hell happened? My body froze and I tried to keep calm. My heartbeat was starting to pick up and he would know I was awake. A small part in me leapt with joy at the fact Shayne still cared. Yes, he had given an order to lock me up, but at least he didn't fully kick me out of his heart. I'm still his mate and his wolf loves us. I didn't do anything to her. I swear. I easily recognized Sam's voice as well. I frowned when I heard his voice among the bunch. I slowly opened my eyes and sat up. There were a bunch of people standing on the outside of the cell I was currently in. Among those people I saw Eric from Silverlight. He let out a deathly growl when I saw me. That's her. No mistaking it. Are you sure? Shayne asked. I could see the hope in him fade away. I caught on to why Alpha Eric was here. Shayne wanted to confirm what I had told him. I slowly stood up and I noticed now that Jake was awake. He was gripping the cell bars and looking at me. How long had he been awake? She's the girl that killed my mate. Eric growled out. 𝐿𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻 𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻 𝐻𝐿𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻𝐻. I stepped closer to the bars holding me in. I made sure to keep my distance so he wouldn't try reaching for me. If he somehow managed to get his hands on me, I was sure he would kill me. When I spoke, my voice sounded small and it came out into a whisper. I knew they all heard me because they all stopped talking. I was the one who did it. 𝐿𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻𝐻 𝐿𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻. 𝐿𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻. Along with others, growled at my words. I wasn't proud of anything that I was saying. I was completely ashamed. I hated admitting what I had done. Unfortunately, there isn't a single thing I could do to change the past. I've been looking everywhere for you, Eric said. So I've heard. I didn't know where my calmness was coming from. I felt anything but calm right now. My inner self was yelling at me to shut up and cower back. I pushed that part of me back and tried to stand tall. Why didn't you say anything? Shayne asked. I looked at him and my heart gave a squeeze. He looked really disappointed and heartbroken. I felt bad that I was the one causing him this pain. I didn't want to hurt him, and it was never my intention. I didn't know it was your sister, and I didn't know she was the Luna when I killed her. 𝐿𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻𝐻 𝐿𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻𝐻𝐻. You could have told me when I told you about her, Shayne shouted. I was scared. I thought you were going to kill me. If anyone is going to kill you. Eric spoke before Shayne could. Shayne growled at Eric's words and I heard a loud rumble coming from Jake. He was keeping quiet, but I wasn't happy with how everyone was speaking to me. I tried to see 𝐵𝐸, but there were people blocking my view. I know what she did, but she's still my mate. Shayne said. I won't let you hurt her. She killed your sister and now you're defending her. She deserves to die and you know that as much as I do. She broke the law. It wasn't her fault. Jake snapped at both of them. Both Shayne and Eric ignored Jake. I know she did. Shayne snapped. Unfortunately, she's still my mate. She's a traitor, Eric said. Ryder is a scum and still you have him at your side. Speaking of Ryder, Eric said, looking at me to meet my eyes. He would like to see her now. Shayne said, we have business to discuss about this. She's as much of a traitor to the both of us as she is to Ryder. He can tell you what she has done to his pack. I growled at the mention of that bastard. Ryder was nothing but a liar and a manipulator. He had taken advantage of me at a young age. I didn't know what I was doing and I was scared. I did not betray my old pack. I growled out. Don't raise your voice at us. Shayne snapped. You no longer have a say in anything. As of right now, you can forget that you were the Luna of this pack and my mate. Shayne's words stung, but I deserved them. He was hurt, so he wanted to hurt me. I understood why he was doing what he was doing, but it hurt so much. I loved him, and that wasn't going to change anything. I didn't care if he did kill me. I would love him because he is my mate. Then you should just kill me. To my agent extraordinaire, 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfading enthusiasm. Gladly, Eric said, stepping closer to the bars. Shayne growled at Eric. We will discuss her punishment when Ryder gets here, Shayne said. He gave me an onlook and snapped at everyone to clear out. Eric continued to give me a threatening look and didn't move. He was the only one that didn't seem to make a move to leave. I'll make sure you don't walk out of here alive, he said before walking away. I let out a shaky breath and slumped down on the floor. I could feel Jake's eyes on me as well as BRE's. When I looked at Jake, I noticed he was no longer in his human form. Jake had shifted into his wolf at some point throughout this whole thing. I looked at BRE and she looked at me with worry. I didn't like the fact that Imperial would have to get involved in this. I knew that Ryder would do anything in his power to get me killed. The son of a bitch would lie through his teeth just to get me back. I had done nothing to him, but I was the girl that had been tricked into killing that girl. He knew who she was and he tricked me. BRE, what's wrong? Noticing that she was at the point of tears. Ryder is coming, Jake said. Jake had shifted back into his human form and had a sheet wrapped around his waist. I should have figured Eric wanted to bring Ryder into this. Bray told me they were joining forces. I know, I said dryly. The bastard is going to take advantage of this whole thing. Sage, Ryder and his beta are coming, Jake said pointedly. Yes, Jake, thank you for pointing the obvious, I said, annoyed. The beta of Imperial is coming. To my agent extraordinaire, 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm, Jake said, shaking his head at me. I know that his. I stopped mid-sentence when realization hit me. I had forgotten the beta of Imperial was BRE's mate. Caleb would be here and he would see Jade. The thought of Justin being reunited made me happy, but that soon died down. Oh no. BRE, I said. She was now crying and a sob escaped her lips. I now felt like a terrible person. More than I did before. If Ryder saw her here, then this is going to be very bad for her. Ryder wouldn't care if BRE is her beta's mate. Bray had been running from Ryder for so long and he was hunting her down too. He's going to kill me, BRE cried. If Ryder found her here, then he was going to tell lie about BRE to get her killed. I was bringing her down with me and it was my fault. She was going to get killed because of me.